Welcome, everybody, to Freelance Writing Direct. I'm your host, Estelle Erasmus, the author of Writing That Gets Noticed, Find Your Voice, Become a Better Storyteller, Get Published, which was named by Poets and Writers a best book for writers. Every week, I speak with novelists, with authors, with writers of every niche to talk about their tips, their tricks, their strategies, and how the sauce is made, including creative advice. I'll talk about essays and articles and share my own experience from 3 decades of publishing. So join me every week and grow your business and build your craft with Freelance Writing Direct. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes. And follow along on Substack, where I share special clips for subscribers only at estelleserasmus.substack.com. Welcome, everybody, to this episode of Freelance Writing Direct. I'm your host, Estelle Erasmus, and today I have my dear friend, Abigail Thomas, Abby, back on the podcast for, I think, the 3rd time. And we're going to talk all about structure, what she's working on, her tips and tricks on writing, and all the fun stuff. And let me just tell a little bit about your bio if people don't know, like if they've been in a cave somewhere. So Abigail Thomas has 4 children, 12 grandchildren, 2 great-grandchildren, 11 books, and a high school education. She's written the memoir Safekeeping, A 3-Dog Life, What Comes Next and How to Like It, and a book about writing, Thinking About Memoir. And Still Life at 80, The Next Interesting Thing is her latest memoir. And welcome back to the program. We talk all the time, but it's so great to have you on the program again.
Me too, Estelle. I wish I had remembered the right day because I've just washed my hair.
Your hair looks lovely, and I like the colors that you're wearing. It goes perfectly with the backdrop of the greenery and the curtains and everything.
And the red woodwork.
Yeah.
It is nice to be back. It is nice to be here. Thank you.
So let's talk about your writing. First of all, what is your writing kind of program, or how you do it? How do you proceed to write? Do you get up, have a cup of coffee? Do you get up at 11? Do you get up at 5 in the morning?
Well, I get up when the dogs get up, and that's around 5 in the morning. Yeah. When I'm into something, when I'm in gear, when you're writing something, then I'm writing all the time. And when that's over and I'm satisfied with whatever it was, then I just sit here and wait for the next completely unimportant thing to get my attention. And then I start again. I don't know. But it's usually something that I get curious about. The less significant it is, the more interested I become. I mean, I was comparing myself to, as you grow up and there are all those things you're not old enough, but there get to be a lot of things you used to care about that you just don't care about anymore. And I was comparing it to a little kid eating candy bars and throwing the wrappers out the car window. And there they would be. And then I thought, this is really so stupid. And then I thought, oh my God, litter? Was I littering? And then that was so stupid and so insignificant that I was suddenly very curious about why I had thought my past was now litter. Anyway.
I want to ask about your process. Like, do you write longhand and then type into the computer, or do you type directly into the computer? Like, what do you do?
I would love to say I write longhand, but I can't read my writing anymore. Hands are too old. So I type right into the computer and I try to save whatever the first thing was that got me going, because that's always going to have the fire in it if you kind of lose steam later on.
Do you ever voice record? Some people, they set up no, you don't do that. Somebody told me they wrote a whole book that way. I was like, wow.
I don't think I could stand my own voice. I don't think I could stand myself talking to myself. God.
Well, you've done audiobooks.
That's different. I don't have to hear them.
Right.
I don't have to hear them. and I'm reading something that's been written. I'm not making it up. I don't know. I couldn't do it. I don't think I could do it, which makes me want to try.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I'm old and I've done a lot of the serious stuff that happened. I've written a lot about that, and I just wait for the next thing that makes me curious, and then I see why. I just follow it. It can be anything, and it can be something I see out the window or something my dog is not doing, or I don't know.
It just pulls at you.
Yeah, if something makes me curious, I don't care that it is the least important, insignificant thing in the world, then I'm interested. So I pursue it.
How do you deal with something that I think every writer deals with? And I mean, I've been writing for decades, but I still have this, sometimes this doubt. How do you deal with it when you doubt yourself? Especially working on memoir, it's so personal that it's scary.
I think I'm too old. I mean, this is what I do. I'm writing for myself. I'd love it if other people like it, but I'm really writing for myself.
I love that.
So when I'm done, I don't doubt because I'm pretty good at revealing the more vulnerable parts of me. And once you've done that, what's to doubt? You've done it. Nobody's going to come up behind you. I saw what you did over there. You've already said what you've done over there. And each of the memoirs I wrote had a specific story to tell. There was the first, there was safekeeping. And then when my husband got hit, that was what I was writing about, although other things come in as well, because you have a life as well as your husband and your life together. I don't doubt, mostly really just because I'm doing this for me. First and foremost, I'm doing it for me because I love to write. I love to figure out why in God's name am I interested in that over there.
Yeah.
And then eventually you figure it out and it's sort of cool.
I
And
love to write, and there are things I can write with my eyes closed, my hands tied behind my back, like articles and things about publishing and all that. But writing memoir, writing about the deepest parts of you. I mean, I'm working on memoir, as you know, and the other day I had this revelation of something I needed to include regarding family. And it came up during therapy. I had a session with my therapist and I was talking about this and I said, oh my God, I have to include this family thing. It needs to be like almost like a thread in my memoir. And I hadn't considered it before. And now that I've considered it, it's going to deepen everything. Does that make sense?
yes, that's great. Why had you not considered it?
Because when people are still around and you're writing about them, that is another fraught situation that I have to deal with.
Yeah, you do. You do, but you're not writing for revenge.
No,
You're just for clarity. You're writing
yes,
for clarity.
it's a
Yeah,
part of my story. It's part of why I am who I am today and how I deal with things or have dealt all along. And it's part of my transformation as well, kind of letting go of that part of my past or coming to terms with it.
that's really interesting. I'm glad.
I didn't have that even in my head 6 months ago. So, because I was struggling, I've been struggling with why is this taking so long? Why am I struggling with this? And it's like kind of this last little piece came into place. I don't feel like anything else is like that. My book that I did, my writing book, that was like basically what I know, what I've taught, what tips and tricks and service tools I can share and curate in terms of pitches and examples and editors and all that. But memoir is different. I mean, you wrote from your place of heartbreak for your earlier memoirs, particularly when your husband was hit by a car and all that. Even with your dog, the books that covered your dogs, loss was a big part of
Yeah.
it, right?
But you know what? That's true. That's what memoir is going to consist of. A lot of that, because there's a lot of that lying around. We didn't get here on a Ferris wheel. There's more to write about than you think you're going to be writing about.
Yeah.
I have come up against things that I didn't particularly want to know about myself that goes in.
But what about somebody like me? Like you've had some terrible, terrible tragedies in your life, and you've written about that, right? So particularly your husband.
Yeah.
Husband's taking care of the first, even though he was not the greatest to you. But I've, knock wood, been okay. There's generational trauma, there's family stuff, but I wrestle with who wants to hear my story. It's not just me, it's universal. I hear this from writers all the time. I hear this from my students. If you're not living like an educated, like Tara Westover or the Glass Castle or something where you come from terrible depths of poverty or abuse but you have a window into a world that maybe people don't have or had before.
If you're writing memoir in the first place, what is making you write a memoir instead of a novel? And it's a way of figuring out how you got to be who you are from, a person I wouldn't recognize myself at 30 from where I am now at 84. It's curious. How did I get here from there? For me, the sort of basic concept of writing memoir, how did I turn into this person? And then you think, God, do I really want to go through all that shit again? Do I really want to drag myself? Well, yeah, you sort of have to.
Yeah, so it's kind of an excavation of the self, right? That's like the big picture way of it.
There's usually the urgency of an event that makes it necessary to start. Like when somebody died, I started writing Safekeeping. When Rich got hurt, I wrote Three Dog Life. When Chuck asked me to write about our friendship, I did. He trusted me to do it. And then I wrote about being fucking 80, because it's sort of cool. And I really love being old, which is not what I would have thought. I mean, I don't think people sit around and think, gee, what'll I do today? Oh, maybe I'll write a memoir today. No, there's usually a push, don't you think? And it's very often loss of one kind or another.
I don't know. I mean, I've wanted to write my story for a long time and I've written little bits and pieces, but I wanted to write my whole story because I think it took me such a long time to figure out what was
Right.
driving me, what was my motivations, what was it all about. I didn't even know until recently. I was doing, just
Right.
moving and doing. I'm very comfortable with the train keeping on the track.
Right. No, I understand. And often doing memoir, you come up to a moment when you don't want to go here, don't want to go here. I'm going to skip over this and jumped over to the, swimming pool or something. Writing memoir, there should be or often is a moment when you are surprised by something that you hadn't planned on discovering or writing about. And that's sort of the most interesting moment, although it can be very painful. That's a very interesting moment to find out what it is that you kept in the dark for a long time.
Even if it's in your own psyche, I mean, it doesn't have to be like some deep secret,
No,
right?
no, yes, it's of course it's in your own psyche, but you've kept it out of sight. And then you have to look at it and you realize, shit, this thing is finite. All its power comes from the place you shut it away. Part of writing memoirs for the occasional surprise, which is really interesting and fun, sometimes painful. And it changes the course of what you're doing, or at least how you're metabolizing it. I've thought before, because it's always been different for me, that where I thought I was going to end one memoir or another, the surprises I found along the way changed the ending completely. One trick is if you write your memoir and you end where you thought you would, you might not have gotten all the interesting stuff out of what you learned about yourself when you're writing it.
I love that. And so the key is to kind of sit with it, be with it. It's daunting. For me, I've always been comfortable with shorter forms, putting like short essays or articles and getting them published. And I teach my students how to do that. But a longer form, there's a bigger journey that you take the reader on with you. So there's more of, I don't know if it's accountability, but there's more responsibility in a way that you're leading them with you. And the other part of me is a very consumer driven part. I know how to package things to get noticed. And so telling these stories and then also knowing how to make it the way that will drive people's interest. It's kind of like it's the two sides of me that need to merge in the process.
It's just really interesting to have those two sides, don't you think? I mean, you're really skillful at both of them, but it's hard. See, that makes for a very interesting read, don't you think? I mean,
I'm
when you're
hoping.
writing an article or you're doing something, you get to leave the room as soon as you're finished. Nobody
Yeah,
will call you back and ask you about what line. But with memoir, you're stuck in the room. You have to, I think you use the word accountable. Yeah, you're vulnerable. The other kind of writing where you're writing and you know exactly what to do to get the attention of whomever you're looking for, you're not vulnerable there. You're
that
good
is
at,
so interesting.
yeah, you know what you're doing and you're good at it. And there are no little secret places where somebody could poke and you'd squeal. But then memoir, you can't do it like that. At least I can't do it like that. And I'm sure you can't either. You do have to be vulnerable. It's so
Yeah.
interesting, those two sides.
Does it get easier? I mean, you're 84 now?
Well, but yes, but sometimes you feel as though the milestones are being thrown at you. These giant, here comes another milestone.
What milestones do you have that you're
Well,
looking towards?
well, memory. My memory is shot. I can get through the now part, but if you ask me about something that happened yesterday, it'll be a complete blank. Not always, but a good deal of it is just gone.
So you retain the important information, right?
Oh, I think I lose one. All of Wednesday is not going to make it into Thursday. And it's not necessarily the important part. It's just gone. But I have a choice. I can either drive myself crazy and think, oh my God, am I getting dementia? Or I can accept the fact that all of Tuesday won't make it into Wednesday. And that's fine because I'm okay right now without having to become a Buddhist, without having to study. I now live in the moment.
Okay, that sounds like an essay. Sounds that sounds like a Substack post at the very least.
I'm so happy that I didn't have to do any of that stuff people have to do to become where they live in the moment. I just got here.
But you're accepting of it.
Absolutely. You could drive yourself crazy. And acceptance is key, accepting it. It's key. The original root of acceptance is a root that meant a thread used in weaving. And so when you accept, you're still weaving. You haven't given up. You're not on the floor. You're still weaving. You still have your life.
Still weaving. And you still obviously can retain enough information to be able to write your stories or write your posts or write what you're working on.
I'm okay in the now. I'm okay in the now. And there's plenty in the now. There's plenty in every moment. There's the past, a little whiff of something will come by and you remember 1969, or you don't remember. It's so interesting when something happens that it's an echo of something, but you can't remember where it began. What is this reminding me of? I mean, this is reminding me of something, but I don't know what it is. So I think I'll just examine this right now, what it is, because I can't get all the way back to where it started. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And when you're writing, are you writing for hours at a time or are you writing in like 15-minute increments or half hour?
For me, writing is not just when you're actually writing, it's looking at it and then it's walking around the house muttering or it's stirring polenta. So the back of your mind, where the door is always locked, something will creep under into the front of your mind. When you're in gear, you're in gear.
I get limerence. I don't know if you get that. So it's like that moment of flow and hours can go by, but
Yeah,
I don't get it that easily. But when I get it, I really get it and I
I
love
know.
it.
It's the best. There is no high like it. It's just wonderful. It's just wonderful. And there's always going to be the next thing, it's never going to just, okay, I've gotten all my curiosity used up. There's nothing more interesting to me. It's never going to be like that.
Well, your book, your latest memoir was Still Life at 80, the next interesting thing. But you're working on another book now. Can you talk about a little bit about what you're working on? Just
Oh,
like a
yeah.
little
I've
snapshot.
I've been working on a book about how to write memoir if you can't remember anything. If you're as old as I am, you can't remember a thing.
I love that.
It's really been fun. It's really been fun. So we'll see whether anybody wants it or not. Oh, I know. I want to write a murder mystery. It's fun to write something where you don't know what you're, of course, I never know what I'm doing when I start. That's what's so much fun. You don't know why this has caught your attention. And then if you just keep going, you find out why that was. And it's usually interesting, at least interests me. Do you ever just sit there and some wisp of something goes by and you, what the fuck was that?
I have never been great at just like doing nothing. So I think I'm working on doing nothing because I'm still okay doing nothing.
It's hard. You have to practice doing nothing. It's hard.
That's
And
the Buddhism thing, right? That's
yeah,
like,
that's what I didn't have to do. I just wound up here.
and you don't have monkey mind, right? So
I
years
have
ago, I took a course. I don't remember. It was somewhere in the city, and they talked about monkey mind, that, the chattering that you have in the back of your brain, like, oh, I did this wrong, or they didn't do this, or da, da, da. And it's like how to get rid of that is by being in the now, by being fully present makes the monkey mind go away.
I like my monkey mind because my monkey mind is curious about everything and
Uh-huh.
will go off and find something that it wants to know more about. And I am.
So
I,
your monkey mind is not a hindrance, it's a
oh,
help.
I count on my monkey mind. But then once I'm writing, then it's just content and it takes a nap.
Interesting. Like, I'll give you an example. I was at an event and there was a woman who came to the table and I didn't recognize her. I was at a table with other people. I just looked up and I figured she was talking to the other person at the table. It was actually somebody I knew. And my husband's like, well, you weren't really friendly. And now I'm all like, oh my God, should I send an email? Should I send a text? What should I do? And that's where the monkey mind is consuming.
Is it that you're afraid she noticed that you weren't paying the right kind of attention?
Maybe that's what it is.
This is where I would start. This is an interesting place to start writing.
Yeah.
Completely vulnerable for you and you alone. Nobody else needs to know about this or read it or anything, but just write it as like you have no skin. Because that's what you're talking about does. You're guilty all the way through.
And something's going to come up for me as I'm writing it. I'll be like, well, why am I worried about that? That
And
kind of thing.
you'll find out why. Yeah. Then sometimes it makes it go away forever.
I love that advice. So, like, the idea is, and I actually like this as a writing exercise, think about a moment recently that you felt vulnerable in
Yeah.
and write it out. Write it out without knowing the ending, but just write your feeling and what was happening.
And
And would it be more than the feeling? Would you also write about, the setting? Would you write about the interactions? Would you include dialogue, or would it be the whole thing?
you just write and don't think. Do not think.
I
If
love that.
setting itself is part of the feeling,
Yeah.
but if not, just write. That's really interesting.
What's interesting to me, what you said, the thing you're working on now about writing for people losing their memory, you're inciting incidents as you feel that
Yeah.
you're losing your memory. And so that gives it its extra weight, I think, because if you're just writing it and you haven't had the experience, it's not
Yeah.
going to be as relatable to somebody. It's like just this brilliant writing teacher is sharing her advice.
I mean, I think a lot of people remember moments. They might not remember what came before or what came after. You can write the things you remember and sort of distill the moment, and you get enough of them down, and we've all got plenty of those. And they'll begin to form something. It'll turn into something, I guarantee.
That's brilliant. And so I just have to ask this one thing. Is there a story still within you that you choose not to tell? You're like, I'm not never going to tell this story. I mean, you don't have to tell the story on the podcast, but like, is that something that you ever think of, or is it not, is it you've told all the stories that you wanted to tell? I mean, of your life, of your earlier life.
I told an awful lot of them. Yeah, there's probably something I don't want to tell.
Okay. And the choice making in not telling it is because it would hurt somebody?
I think because it would do better as fiction. I could do better, do more of it if I were writing fiction.
That's really interesting.
A murder mystery has nothing to do with life. But
Yeah, that's fantasy. I mean, that's, the fantasy of the world building that you're going to create. That's what it is. I mean, you can take elements from life, I guess, and imbue them into novel. I think after I write my memoir, I'm going to write a novel, and I've had one in the back of my mind that I've kind of been dabbling on, but the memoir is calling me first, as you know.
well, if you're stuck about what you're going to write next, I would write about the feeling of guilt and whatever it is, where
Yeah.
you really recognize a person you knew very well or something. Although
Yeah.
that seems to be right there hollering at you, just to see where you get, it'll be interesting to see what you wind up with.
I love it. Thank you so much, Abby. It's been such a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much.
Follow me at EstelleSerasmus.com on my website and on social media, which is Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at Estelle S. Erasmus. And we're now on YouTube for Freelance Writing Direct. Follow along, and soon everyone will be reading what you're writing.